This is, it's all good.
There's no time limit, Wyatt. You can go as long as you want.
Well, you know, there are several senior producers in here. I see Rome Hartman over there, you, Ward Sloan, and I know Caroline is here somewhere. And I guarantee you guys are sitting there thinking, no matter what he says, I can get 20 seconds. First of all, I'd like to thank the folks that put that tape together. I know some of your names, but certainly Maggie, Kate, and Carrie.
Mike Faulkner.
And who else?
Mike Faulkner.
Mike Faulkner. Thank you, Mike. And I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, I will get you. I will get, and you know, and the revenge will be cold because I want you to think about it for a while. Some of what was captured on this tape it kind of is a snapshot of my dirty little secret after 34 years, and that secret is that there were so many days that were so satisfying and so adventurous, and when it was even better than that, so historic in some cases, that my secret was that I would have paid CBS to have the privilege to go to some of those stories and be able to be sent out. And what Ward was talking about was what became the Washington Sniper story. And I'll never forget and so I did the math. 34 years equals to about 12,400 days, and I'm sure I had at least 1,000 days where I would go to my hotel room or my home and just think to myself, I would have paid them. I'd certainly worked for free. And I'd like to give a lot of credit to my lovely bride, Amy. Here's what you should know about Amy. When New York wanted me to go to Tokyo, I was up there, and of course they're blowing all that smoke. And I call her, and I say they want us to go to Tokyo. And almost the first words out of her mouth were, wait a minute, someone wants to move us to Tokyo, but are you sure you're going to get paid? You know, and I was a good husband, I asked. And you have to understand, we were, at that point in our lives, we were newly married and newly pregnant. And I swear it was in that order. And where is Rachel? Rachel was born in Tokyo. And, but to Amy's credit, the conversation about whether we would take on that adventure took 20 seconds. This was not, even though we were newly married and newly pregnant, this was not a tough call, and this was the job of a lifetime. It was always great. A lot of people ask me what my favorite story was, and I'm not sure I have a favorite story. Jerry Seinfeld was very famously asked one time if he had a favorite episode, and he said, well, they're kind of all my babies. I did my best with each one. But I have a favorite assignment. You saw a lot of the Moscow reporting that I did, and it's hard to tell the younger people that several of you are as old as I am, or even older, like George. But George remembers Moscow very well, so does John Cochran. CBS was asking me there to go report from the seat of the enemy, because it's hard to calculate now, but back then there were 50,000 warheads pointed at each other. The Cold War was very real, very dangerous. I mean, and that was the biggest and most important global war going on at the time, and they wanted me to do that too. And Amy and I entered the Moscow that was part of the Cold War, but we were there as the enemy changed under Gorbachev. So that was my favorite assignment by far, because I'm the son of a naval officer. I never served myself, but I was kind of the military culture, and it just doesn't get better when they ask you to do something like that. I have some favorite stories. I won't bore you with a lot of them, but one of them, where's the picture with Nora? Isn't there, yes, the picture of, that's Brett Baer there, me and Nora on a C-130. Frank Thorpe is here. He used to speak for the Joint Chairman, Frank Thorpe Sr. I think you were on a couple of those trips, right? But we were on one of these ridiculous Rumsfeld trips where he went around the world a couple of times. Certainly those of us in the press corps got no sleep. And Nora was at NBC, I was with CBS, and Nora falls dead asleep on my shoulder. I mean, conks out, drooling, snoring, the whole 9 yards. And I was of two minds about this. There was a good Wyatt, there was an evil Wyatt. And the good Wyatt is I had one more script to knock out, and I was going to crash too. And so the good Wyatt honestly was thinking, and let me, as a quick aside, Nora O'Donnell, then and now, is a strikingly beautiful woman, and I'm thinking, what do I do here? And the good Wyatt says, you know what, we're all exhausted, I'm going to crash myself as soon as I finish this script. There's nothing to be gained by waking Nora up, so I just let it go. But then the airmen, you know, and the officers that are doing chores on the C-130, they start passing us by. And they're looking at me like, dude. So the evil Wyatt rises up at that point and looks at them and is like, that's right. That poor girl couldn't hold it back any longer. One of my other favorite stories was the time myself and the news crew at CBS got arrested in Moscow. That's an awfully strange favorite story. But back then, in the Soviet Union, Jews could not leave. You had to have an exit visa to leave. I mean, who does that? It makes the whole country a gulag. And we covered a lot of these, but on this particular occasion, Reagan's Secretary of State, George Shultz, was coming to talk to Gorbachev about this very thing because the United States then and now considered that, excuse me, a human rights violation. So we're covering this demonstration, but a busload of KGB thugs shows up. They have these cheesy, long, leather jackets. And typically they get off the bus and they would arrest the demonstrators. This time they came for us. And they knew exactly who we were, and all of us, those of us attached to TV news crews, we got hit and tumbled to the ground. And our camera teams got hit and taken to the ground, but very slickly the KGB guys cut the umbilical cord between the camera and the tape machine. Next thing I know, I'm in a holding cell. I'm talking to, not the KGB, I'm talking to a local police lieutenant because the KGB thug who knocked me down is there testifying that I was the guy who assaulted him and a bunch of the other demonstrators. And the lieutenant explains to me that I'm looking at 4 months in jail, or I could quietly agree not to do the story on that night's evening news. And I don't know what it was, but I instantly looked at this guy and I said, why wait? Take me to jail right now. And my translator looks at me like I've grown a third ear, and he says, Mr. Andrews, says quietly in English, Mr. Andrews, you do not want me to translate your offer to go to jail. And I said, yes, I do, and word for word. And so he does, and the lieutenant looks surprised, and he asked me why. Why would you want to go to jail right now? And I said, well, Lieutenant, if you arrest me and take me off to jail, the entire Western press corps saw you arrest the CBS News crew, right? And so instead of quashing the story, about an hour from now, this is going to be a huge international incident. You're going to blow the story up. And by the way, your name personally is going to be in all the news stories. And if you ever had a thought of emigrating to the United States, good luck with that. So he leaves the room and he comes back and all the charges are dropped. Miraculously, the other guy doesn't want to testify against us. I do not tell you that story to come across with any kind of false bravado, because I realized that night that that was a story about the First Amendment. This poor hapless lieutenant had never wrapped his mind around the power of free information. It didn't compute. He was used to people sitting in that chair. He was used to manufacturing all the evidence against the people that he wanted to put away, and he was used to people in that chair quaking. He'd never really considered what it might be like to be personally embarrassed, to be personally called out, to face the wrath of an informational system that could embarrass them, that could expose wrongdoing. And so I think about that very often when I think about what all of you are confronted with, all of us are confronted with, because I may not leave the business permanently, as we face the digital revolution. And all of us at CBS, I think, have done the best job there is to be done so far, even though we face this digital revolution and we don't know exactly how we're going to profit from what comes next. But we've done the best job at separating